topic which I'm planning to discuss with you. Introductory lecture. This is just repetition of KU, whatever I was discussing yesterday. KU1, KU2. If you still want to read it, please go through it by yourself. But these are the topic objectives. These are the course objectives, which I also shared with you. So please go through them. But I want to go to the topic straight away. Maybe here. Economics is a vast subject. Hence, it's not easy to define economics. We used to have an economist, Barbara, and she would say that there are 5 economists. It's literally impossible to define economics. Because I come from India, and we not some few in India everything is a few thousand year old, yeah. Nothing is but all the philosophy is ancient. We used to have a very famous philosopher called Chanakya, and he wrote a book. The book's name, you will not understand what I'm saying. There's a perspective. The book's name was Arthashastra, economics. Basically, this book has nothing to do with the economics. The book is all about politics. So the moral of the story is that in the old times, 1,000 years ago, even some 500 years ago, some 200 years ago, there was no difference between economics and politics. So anybody who's studying politics is by default studying economics. So this discipline was intertwined. And as a matter of fact, even now, if we have the classic school of economics, is London School of Economics and Political Science. So even now it's called economics and political science. So it's economics and politics. But eventually, the branch of economics became heavier because many politicians, that was a time some 300-400 years ago, when some glimpses of democracy and people's participation and some ideas of welfare state start coming into the minds of the kings and the emperors and the monarchs. And as a result, some taxation system, lending, borrowing, these kind of things start developing. The trade was developing. The merchants were trading on the banks of the rivers, Nile or any other major river. So what happened? Slowly, economics broke off from politics. And then for many years, economics remained as such. But then within economics, for the last 150 years, I would say 50 years ago, there was some kind of upheaval within economics. And there was a demand for separation because within economics, there was another discipline revolting. And that discipline is called business studies. So eventually, economics, the parent body, got split into economics, which remained economics, and the other one was business studies. The business studies for the last 150 years made lots of revolutionary changes. It grew very fast. And then within the discipline of business studies, there were more revolts, more uprising. And then came marketing, finance, accounting, management science, organization science, and what else? Human resources. So all these things which you study now, these owe their heritage. They are the great-grandchildren of economics and politics. And then this evolution, it was revolution, but then it ultimately started getting evolving. This never stopped. And nowadays, we have new things. That is, the technology is going very deep into business studies. And for example, I do many projects with my students about fintech, financial technology. Some students of mine are doing research in artificial intelligence in stock trading. So my student is studying how a robot can take care of your wealth better than a broker can. And then Bilal is an example. You guys are doing a project with this Mid-Invest. So yeah, so a lot of technology came into picture. All right, so this is a very live field, which is growing very fast. Okay, and then within economics, there was further breakdown into labor economics, into financial economics, into environmental economics, regional economics, which I guess Murat will take care of you in the second year. So the point is that nothing is permanent but change. And economics discipline is not immune to the change, which is a good thing. It should never be static. And the things have changed very fast over time. Yeah. It stems from political economy, okay? In the beginning, it was just mercantilism. Economics was only confined to the merchant, the trade. Trade was the only thing about economics, that people buy and sell things for the barter and also for later on for money. I hope you understand the barter system. When you swap goods for goods, there's no money. So if you have extra rice and you want some apples, you have to find somebody who have extra apples, but at the same time wants rice from you, so that you can swap goods for goods. The classical school of thought, the old school, it developed in the 18th and the early 19th century. I have a proud privilege that I have not studied, but I did some research in the most classical school of economics, which is University of Glasgow in Scotland. Because the person who gave this idea of science of wealth, he was from Glasgow, and his name, I think you have heard, his name is Great Adam Smith. Have you heard Adam Smith? The father of economics. So I had a proud privilege of studying and sitting in the same hall where he used to sit. And he wrote a book in 1776, it got published. And the book's name is Wealth of Nations. It's a classic. I have it. And believe me, I don't care about the copyrights. Don't tell anybody. I have this book in the black market. And if you don't tell anybody, I would share it with you. Okay, but you have to promise me that you will not tell anybody. I trust you. It's a classic. It's a must read. Why I haven't shared now, because I think it's a little bit far-fetching at this stage. After you know a few concepts, some ideas, your mind is, the engine is, on ignition. Then it's a good idea that you study that book. I would share with you. The idea of Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nation, is that, hey, forget about welfare. Forget about humanity. Forget about people's care. Wealth is the most important thing. We are born to earn wealth. Not earn wealth, but also to accumulate wealth. Everything is about wealth, 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 wealth. Money is primary. Wealth is primary. Man, not in man means the human beings, are secondary. We are only concerned about how to earn wealth, how to spend wealth, how to share wealth, and how to earn more wealth. So the wealth earning is going on continuously. But do you think that this kind of idea can find a place in the modern time? If today the major goal of all the economists, all the politicians, all the policymakers, all the planners, all the corporate leaders is wealth, 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 do you think this idea is viable in the modern times? Once again, when you answer, keep IS2 in mind, perspectives. Yes, the floor is yours, and I can pause it. I don't. Then there was a paradigm shift from wealth to scarcity. As most of you disagreed, that I think most of you have no problem with the wealth, but what you said is how the wealth have its side effects. Or if it too much, if our only motto in life is wealth, then it's a problem. And then the scholars started thinking differently. And then came another school of thought called scarcity, science of scarcity. Can you see here? So the economics moved on from wealth to welfare. Wealth to welfare. First I discussed welfare. Welfare means during this last end of 18th century and in the early 19th century, when this wealth of nations or material wealth was propounded, propagated, that was a time when there were many reformist movements going on in Europe. People like Marx, people like Rousseau, people like Bakunin and the other very great thinkers, they were very active. People were reading their literature. And all they were saying was that, hey, you know what? How can you talk about only wealth, wealth, wealth? Man is very important. Welfare is very important. We need to take care of people's welfare. Man is not secondary. Wealth is secondary. Wealth is not primary. Man is primary. So there was a complete U-turn from this ideological platform where earlier wealth was the focal point. Now man, the human beings, the human welfare became the focal point. I'll come to this a bit later. And then finally, we have another paradigm shift which said that, hey, why you talk? I know welfare of human being is good. We must take care of the welfare, but that's not the job of economics. Economics is a very hard science. Welfare, when you talk about welfare, or you talk too much about welfare, the problem is that you are deviating economics towards ethics, normative science. But economics have some very hard facts. Economics has some very difficult questions to answer. And the most difficult question you ever come across is that your demands are unlimited, your wants are unlimited, but your means, your resources are limited. When you woke up today, you must have given a second thought that should I go, especially if you wake up after a late night party, should I go for Sept's lecture or shouldn't I, or should I take some rest? Okay? You can't do both because the time, the resources you have are scarce, but your wants are different. So what you have to do then, you have a problem of choice. You're choosing, you know that, okay, fine, if I don't go, I'll take rest, but at some stage I would miss my lectures and his videos are awful. It's possible that I don't catch up and I will miss out something. And moreover, I know that after a few hours when I wake up, I'll start feeling guilty that, hey, why didn't I go? But if I go there, I have to sacrifice my sleep. I'm very sleepy. I want to sleep. So here is the problem. So that's a scarcity. So we deal with the phenomena of scarcity. We deal with the problem of choices. We deal with the situation where wants are unlimited, but the means to fulfill them are limited. That's the reality. So this last school of thought, science of scarcity, is a very realistic, very scientific way of thinking. But when you talk about welfare, nothing wrong with welfare. I like welfare. I live in a welfare state. But when we become overly echoing the word welfare, it seems that we are getting, that's not the job of economics. It's okay if some other discipline is taking care of it, or if many disciplines are taking care of it. But if this is a job of only economics, then I have a very strong problem with this word welfare, if it is only taken care of in economics. And this science of scarcity is a very positive science, very realistic. It's a reality. We all face this problem of choice day in, day out, not only in wealth, but also in our social life. Even in our relationship, we have the problems of choice. What to choose, what not to choose. And what's the guarantee that what I choose is the best choice? So where does rationality comes in between? The whole thought process. It's a very hard science. Started, by the way, Alfred Marshall was the economist who propounded this way of thinking, the science of welfare. It started in early 19th century. As I said, that was a time when a lot of social movements are going in France, Britain, Germany. Russian literature at that time was at its peak. So that was a time when this rational, this intellectualism was at its peak. I remember when I was in my teens and I was very fond of Russian literature, and I read so many translations of Russian books into Punjabi, my mother tongue. And most of the literature which I went through that time was written during this early part of 19th century, and some were late 18th century. The welfare is both quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative welfare is that which is measurable. The qualitative welfare is which you don't measure, but you just feel it. Okay? And the welfare is comprising of both. If I say, measure welfare in Uvascula, which are the measures of welfare in Uvascula? You will say, Shab, we have so many doctors for every 100 people. We have so many nurses for every 100 people. If they're increasing, the welfare is increasing. If the number of doctors, nurses decreasing for every 100 people, welfare is decreasing. We have so much of road network in Uvascula. We have so many roads built in the last 2 years. We have a rising percentage of houses which is using green energy, not the old-fashioned, very expensive and not so eco-friendly electricity. Okay, we have the Kaupunki, the city council has recruited so many new teachers. The crime rate is going down. The number of people sentenced last year is much lower than the previous year. Now, here, these all are the indicators of welfare, are they not? But these are quantitative indicators of welfare. Do you have peace? Are you contented? When you come to study or when you come to work, are you all the time remaining frustrated? Is your work environment favorable? Are your teachers, especially Shab, treating you nicely? Or he is harassing you with his ILOs and KUs and IS? Well, not exactly. These are underpinning your qualitative welfare. Are you living in a system with nice roads, everything is good, but you don't have security? You can be robbed, you can be killed. You never know. You have fantastic buildings, everything is great, but do you have a good legal system where your life, your property, your dignity is taken care of? All these things which I'm now telling, they are referring to the qualitative welfare. Do you have a system where you have the right to information? Can you get the right to knowledge? If you want to study, if you want to retrain yourself, is something stopping you from? If you talk to your boss that, hey, you know what, I'm fed up working behind the till point now, I want to retrain myself, I want to get some better knowledge, and your employer is very positive about it. These are qualitative welfare. Okay? Unfortunately, the sad but true, but it's very difficult to measure this qualitative welfare, but it's much easier for the quantitative welfare. All you need to do is just go to the city council's office, statistics, check the data, all good. Maybe that's the reason I do quantitative research, because it's easy to get the data. Yes, and also the quantitative welfare has one more convenience, that you can convert the quantities into money by multiplying with the prices. You get my point? Because you can measure it with money. Okay, if you read the indicator that the hospital Keskusarala has brought 3 new X-ray machines, which are the best machines in the world, then you multiply 3 with the price of the X-ray machine, and that amount you get, let's say 405,000 euros. Just imagine. It's a quantitative welfare measure. And why it's a with the wink of the eye, why you do it so quickly? Because quantitative welfare is measurable easily in the monetary units. Whereas the happiness, frustration, sadness, these things you can't measure in the first place, and let alone in terms of money. Can I say that yesterday I was sad by 100 euros? Can I say this thing?
They are investing in art.
In art?
Yes. So isn't that kind of a qualitative measurement? Art brings you this story and different.
Now, what you say now is qualitative.
Yes.
So they are related. Of course. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. I think Piotr would discuss with you in his research methods, but we use a phrase in research methods called proxy. Proxy. P-R-O-X-Y. Proxy. The word comes from the word approximation. You know, not exactly, but almost equal. Almost equal. So sometime in the quantitative research, when you want to bring some qualitative measure, then you use these kind of measures, which essentially are quantitative, but they can have very qualitative implications. And the best example I can give you is called corporate social responsibility. Because when you are a company, you must spend some money on CSR. I hope you know about this, yeah? Corporate social responsibility is that all the major companies in the world, especially the major ones, by law, they are bound to share their profits for the local societies, communities, grow some organic food. If you are a coffee producer, global coffee producer, then you are giving some encouragement to the local farmers in Colombia, for example, to grow organic farming. And then you are having some schools for the kids where they study free. You know, the fair trade. The fair trade is exactly that thing that the big company is supporting. You charge a bit more price from consumer, but let me check. I'm recording it here. You charge a bit more price from consumer, but that extra price you spend for the welfare of people, the workers working in textile factories in Bangladesh, workers working in the rubber plantation in Sri Lanka, workers working in the mines in Africa, and the workers working in some plantation industry in Latin America. So corporate social responsibility is exactly what you said, is a quantitative measure but it's a proxy indicator of the qualitative phenomena. Excellent. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have an example of this. In the school material, which we studied, the one from Fitz, there was a story about Stora Enso company in Brazil. Well, a few days before the exam, I watched a documentary from MOT, which was saying that the Stora Enso is robbing the lands of the farmers. In the case study in the Fitch thing, they said that they are giving the money lands to the farmers.
Yeah. Yes, we have different perspectives.
So
yeah.
So
yeah. You know what? The truth is very dynamic concept. For example, if you talk about this famous company called British Petroleum, BP, it's a wonderful company, great company, right? But if you see Gulf of Mexico crisis, then it's not a so good company. So we have multiple truths. There is no, even yesterday I said that whatever I say in this class is never take it in the absolute sense. Not a single word I speak is absolute. Nothing is prophecy. Everything I say is comparative in a certain context. It's true in certain context. It's absolutely junk in another context. Yep. Well said. Welfare is important, but not costless. Welfare is on cost. Welfare is not so straightforward. Now here I expect from you to read out this text in red and make some sense out of it in the context of welfare. And remember what I wrote above is welfare is important. Nobody's denying the importance of welfare. Welfare is very crucial, but welfare is not painless. Welfare has a cost. Welfare has a side effect. Welfare has a boomerang effect. You throw it, it comes back. So I try to be a little bit more deeper into welfare. Apparently, welfare is superb, but the welfare have very strong extra dimensions. Okay, that you please go through. Go through this paragraph, and once again be in the groups. And again, use pen and pencil to jot down your important points. And we have some discussion about it. You have 5 minutes to do this job. And your main context is that welfare is important, but not costless. And